Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Michael Kuzilny, and thank you very much for joining us once again on this lovely Wednesday night. Love and best wishes to everybody who's going through some tough times. And remember, tough times never last, but tough people do. And thank you very much for coming up in the street and saying g'day. And if you're going through a tough time tonight, don't worry, you'll get through the fire and you'll get much better, whether you're going through a divorce or some addictions or some financial crisis, or perhaps you've just lost a loved one. Love and best wishes, and surround yourself with good people. On tonight's show, I've got a lovely man called Barry Dickens. He's 62 and he certainly had his fair share of tough times. He's a school teacher. He's been in a psychiatric institute where they mistreated him, but he's also an author of 26 books. God bless you, mate. Thank you for coming on.
It's great to see you, Michael.
And, mate, sorry for waiting around all that time, but...
That's all right. I learned to meditate when I was waiting.
You learned to meditate. Where did it all start? You grew up in Melbourne?
In Reservoir I grew up, and my aged parents still live there. My father, Len, is 91 on Boxing Day. My mother, Edna, turns 87 on the 2nd of December.
And they're beautiful people by the sounds of it.
I adore them. And the older I get, the more rapport there is. We're closer as I get older and closer to their age.
Now, you've got an interesting story to share. You were a school teacher for how long?
40 years. I'm Australia's oldest teacher.
You love kids.
I adore them.
You love kids, and you've got kids yourself?
I've got one son named Louis, although there could be a few hippie children that I haven't met. That's possible. At Cairns they might be. But I've got a son named Louis, who's 15, and Louis Dickens, and he goes to University High School. He's in Year 9.
Wonderful. And he must be a very, very smart man like his father.
Well, I don't know. He's very different to me. He's more circumspect with his remarks, and I'm too close to my feelings. That's a fault, I think.
Have you enjoyed teaching?
I love teaching, and it's an opiate. I mean, teaching is an opiate. You feel high when you're learning, and you see that in the preppies. That's my favourite group, teaching preppies. Not teaching them, but encouraging them to draw cartoons, and we draw toucans and tigers and parrots and elephants. And
Barry, when did you write your first book? You've written 26 books.
When I was 21, I had a book of poems published by Footscray Tech, and that was called In Light, and they were love poems, possibly to the universe. And that was exciting. The English faculty commissioned me to write a book of poems.
Isn't it amazing, viewers? We've got this lovely man. He's studied to be a teacher. He's written 26 books. Once upon a time had a happy family unit. And we think that everything's always going to be perfect, don't we? We think life's going to go on forever, things will be perfect, the relationship will be perfect, the job's going to be there. But unfortunately, that's not the way it is. The tough times, the hard hits always come. And of course, we had a mental breakdown.
I was giving a reading at the Wangaratta Library 3 years ago, and then I went blank. I had my new book. There were 200 patrons of that library. I was their resident author. I didn't know where I was. They introduced me. I didn't know what that meant. It was like being knocked down with a feather. And I had no prehistory. I didn't know my name. The depression knocked me out, right out of the ring.
It knocked you out of the ring?
That's right. And it was physical. I mean, it was physical as well. People think it's always intellectual, but it's physical too. You have such inertia because you're feeding your body with depression and defeat, and it's like Pac-Man.
It's that body-mind connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I always think, viewers, that disease comes from stress and worrying about stuff. So it's really to be a good idea to be unafraid of life. I say to myself every day, I will never again be scared, worried or intimidated. I will triumph and I'll succeed. And I'll say it again, I will never again be scared, worried or intimidated. I try to meditate every single day for at least an hour. And what I'm doing is putting my body into a state of ease. And I really think that sickness comes from dis-ease. And that's why I think meditation's so great, because we build up so much junk in our minds, don't we? That's here's a typical example. You broke down.
I didn't know my name. I didn't know anything. I didn't know where I lived. I can't remember driving the car back to Carlton from Wangaratta.
God bless you, mate. So you ended up in which hospital?
I went to Albert Road Clinic. I went to St Vincent's Hospital in Fitzroy with my then wife to be assessed, because it was obvious that I was clearly sick. And I couldn't remember anything, and I was mumbling and muttering, and You know, I was really ill. Luckily, I didn't have schizophrenia.
No.
I certainly had depression.
So you're nervous, you're clicking in nails, but don't do that because we'll be able to hear it.
Oh.
Yeah, see,
Okay.
are you still nervous now?
No.
In life?
No, I don't. I recovered in September of 2008.
Yeah.
And only because my old father came in to get me out of there.
Yeah.
He had one look at me and he said, "When are you getting out?"
Yeah.
And that seems so simple, but really it was resonant.
Barry, tell me about the crazy stuff that happened in the mental hospital. I mean, a lot of people have never been to a hospital. Well, most people have, but not many people have visited a mental hospital. But that's where Barry ended up for 8 months.
8 months.
Almost a year.
That's right. I was getting worse. I was deteriorating. And then my wife and one of my brothers gave their consent for me to have ECT. And I had 9 doses of that.
So tell me, you went to this mental health institution. I mean, it's a pretty 5-star place. And they set you up in a nice bed and everything. And when did this treatment start? What's the introduction process of it all?
Well, they said, "We're giving you ECT to lift your mood."
This is the first day you went
Oh,
there?
no, by degrees. It wasn't the first day. I mean, there were various programs that I was a part of, and one of them was meditation, and lots of walking and all that, you know, but I was, you know, really sick and physically and mentally distressed. I didn't know what I was doing.
You acknowledged that you had a mental sickness.
Yeah, I was right out of it. I mean, I didn't know what was happening. And then I was given ECT, which is supposed to lift your mood. That's the cliche they keep giving you. We're lifting your mood. But at the same time, my wife had decided to leave me after 25 years of marriage.
While you're in the mental home?
That's right. I guess I was too much worry for her. I didn't blame her for that. But then I thought, what have I got to recover for? What's the point of recovery? What am I going to do?
What a shocking time, viewers, to...
That was my crucifixion, my working class crucifixion. You know, it's so common to suffer, but that was the worst thing that ever happened.
And that's right, viewers, isn't it? What a time to let him down while he's locked away in that mental institution. What a shame. And isn't it amazing to write a book? I've written a couple of books. You really need that concentration, don't you? All those books and all those late nights, and all of a sudden this happens.
But I wasn't bitter. I didn't blame my wife, and I still don't. I've never felt that bitterness. And then, as I say, my old father came in and said, "When are you getting out?"
Yeah.
Now, that sounds so simple, but really it isn't. He was in the army for 6 years.
We might talk about you being locked up in the mental institution after the next break, but we've got Barry Dickens on the couch, and he's a terrific fella. Back shortly.